Right back at it, hour number 3 in full effect. We flip it over and talk some action on the diamond. Yesterday was action-packed all the way through. 5 games on the slate today. Donny right side along with Davis Madigan. Also, we bring in Craig Mitch, our MLB insider and the host of Newswire right here on the SportsGrid network for this Thursday morning edition. Craig, how are we feeling today?
Oh, feeling great. Some afternoon baseball to check out today. A big debut, of course, that we will be watching, no doubt. And, certainly you get into this time of the month and then we're finally going to get out of April. And so we get into May, some teams sort of determine who they are. I always tell people, and I think it's the old adage, Donny, about Major League Baseball. You don't really know where you're at until Memorial Day. And we're about a month until then. But we can sort of, take the landscape as to how things are going.
Yep, I usually like to say the same thing in that month of April. You don't really know you're bad, and if you give one of those bad teams a little bit of a short leash, they'll be able to run through April, but the cream usually rises to the top in a 162-game schedule. But we got big doings today. Only 5 games on the card, 3 games in the afternoon, which 3 of those games are going to start after, it looks like 1 o'clock, or 1:10, 1:10, and 1:35. But the game we're going to focus on is that 1:10 start. Texas and Detroit, Leiter on the mound versus Madigan. Yeah. The line in this game listed slight favorite here, depending on where you're shopping around, to Texas and or Detroit. This game is in Detroit, but the reason we're bringing this up is here, Jack Leiter's debut. And if we look at his props today in this game, strikeouts 5.5, 7+ strikeouts at +230, 9+ Ks at +830 at the FanDuel Sportsbook. But before we handicap the game, talk to us about Jack Leiter, what we can anticipate, and that, going through the minor league system, getting the call up today, and what that means, Craig.
Yeah, look, I'm excited for this. Al Leiter, of course, pitched for the Marlins for several years and also did the broadcast for the Marlins. So I'm excited for him. I'm excited for his family. In terms of what Jack Leiter brings to the table, this is a very high strikeout guy. He's performed at a very high level already this season in the minor leagues. And, it kind of reminds me a little bit, guys, of when Hunter Green got called up, where the results weren't always there, but the strikeouts were. So I kind of have a feeling that we could be in store for the same. And you showed those strikeout props. And as far as just this game is concerned, you really don't know. I mean, Donny, it's the first start for a major league player. So, boy, is that a tough handicap. But if you look at the Tigers, they're in the top 10 in strikeouts this season. Riley Green has struck out a ton. Javi Baez, generally speaking, I know Davis still loves him, but he'll, swing and wherever the ball is, it doesn't make a difference there to him. So look, you could see, I think in his debut, a very high strikeout total. I don't know if I would go all the way with the 9 or the plus money there, but certainly the over on the 5.5. And you know me, I'm an under guy, but the Tigers do tend to swing and miss a bit. So I could see this going over that 5.5.
I knew Craig was going to give me a little bit of Javi Baez chatter there. There was a time. The time does not exist anymore where Javi Baez struck out about 47% of the time, and he was still good for fantasy. That time has passed. Javi Baez is just about the worst. Jose Abreu or Javi Baez, who is the worst everyday player in Major League Baseball. Pretty close between those two guys who are making a ton of money. So the Texas Rangers have pretty good odds to end up winning this division. They're off to a very good start here relative, particularly to their big rivals in that division, the Houston Astros, who cannot get out of their own way. Their odds to win the division all the way up to +150. AL pennant, 6-1. World Series, 12-1. Now, Wyatt Langford, where we're talking about a young guy getting called up, Wyatt Langford has not been able to find his way at the plate. I think we might get a skill-related demotion as opposed to a service time-related demotion for Langford here. How is it all coming together for the Rangers? Do you think Langford will go down? Do they have a ready-made replacement for him? Where are we at on the Texas Rangers?
Yeah, I mean, more or less a guy who comes off the bench plays when Langford, if he does go down. But I think Davis probably another week or two away from that. Generally speaking, you don't see this happen in 2 weeks. The 3-4 week mark is when they would analyze that. For the Rangers, I think with what has happened with Houston, at least at the start of the season, I would be foolish to say that doesn't put them in a great spot to win the division. But as we talked about here on the show, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, I mean, Houston at this point is kind of like the Lakers. It's like just get us in through any way possible, and then we'll figure it out when we get to the postseason. They got Verlander coming back too. So I'm still, I know that some people are a little bit worried about the Astros. Their bullpen has not pitched well, and some of the guys are not performing. Bregman in a contract year as well. I'm not worried, but it would be silly for me to say here that the Rangers are not the odds-on favorite to win the division at this point. But honestly, Davis, I could see Houston facing off with Texas, couldn't you, in a first-round matchup, and Houston just winning and going, oh, it's the Astros. So not the pennant or World Series for me, but +150, not a bad price, I think, for Texas.
Craig, to take another look here at Jack Leiter. So many times in Major League Baseball, young prospects coming up, there's options for them to be sent back down. Is this a case where Jack Leiter's coming up for a spot start, or if he pitches well, no, he's going to be a part of the rotation for the rest of the year?
Yeah, he's too dominant in the minor leagues for those hitters.
Yeah.
I think it was time. I mean, you look at his numbers, the 25 strikeouts in 14 innings. So look, I think it's his time, and if he pitches well, he could stick. There's no guarantee with any young player at this stage of especially on a team that's trying to win. If Leiter was not to pitch well after 2-3 starts, he could go down. We've seen this happen before in baseball, but my estimation would be if he comes up and he fares well, that he would stick. And again, it's the first game, but I think we could get a really good game from him here, and we could get a pretty big overreaction. Tigers, by the way, playing really good baseball. Let's not discount that. But this is the kind of matchup as a rookie that you want with one of the teams that strikes out the most in the American League, and that is Detroit.
I think it'll be pretty interesting to watch. Another game here in the American League that we've got to put our attention on. We have the Cleveland Guardians up against the Boston Red Sox. Carlos Carrasco is going to be pitching for the Guardians. I mean, look, it's actually hard for me to pick this one, Craig. Just rooting against both of these teams, rooting against the Red Sox because I am so sick of them dominating the Major League Baseball conversation with this very average roster. And I want every American League Central team to lose every game that they play because I want some pennants and some banners and some plaques to return to the great city of Kansas City in a season that the Royals are actually playing well. Guardians, Red Sox, do we have a side or a total that we like here?
Yeah, when I don't have something, I generally am going to say it, and I think that's kind of here today. I think I would have had the under on Davis Maddox's interest in the Royals at the NFL draft time. I mean, usually it's the under for that, but here we are next Thursday. Davis is still going to be watching baseball, so I'm very happy for that. But yeah, look, I think to focus on one topic here is very simple. The Boston Red Sox going into the season didn't do enough to compete in that division. They sort of kind of moved some things around a little bit, made a couple of trades, made a couple of moves. It is really hard to get away with that in Boston, and now you're seeing the end result of that. If I'm not mistaken, either yesterday, at some point they were in last place, whether it's right now or yesterday. I know that they were in last place in that division, and that's the team that's going to be in last place at the end of the year. So, honestly, why did they fire Chaim Bloom as their president? I have no idea. I mean, they got all these nice young players. I thought he was doing an okay job. They bring in this Craig Breslow. I thought he was there to try and win, but they didn't really make any moves in the offseason. I'm having a hard time understanding as a Red Sox observer what their plan is. And for Cleveland, look, with that payroll that they're going to have, they're going to middle their way somewhere to around 80 wins. So in a one-game scenario, it's the kind of game for me where I look for a different game.
Everybody in the AL East here, Craig, double-digit wins or more, which is pretty impressive here. And yes, the Red Sox still technically in last place in their own division. Day game baseball today in Tampa Bay. Canning versus Pepio, minus 152 favorite at the FanDuel Sportsbook here for Tampa Bay. Nice win yesterday for the Angels, swimming around that 500 mark here with Trout and the boys.
Yeah, bullpen let the Rays down a little bit yesterday. I don't know if you saw the comments from Pete Fairbanks. Very funny stuff, by the way, on social media if you want to take a look. Just basically calling himself out for 2 straight minutes in a funny way. I would expect the Rays to bounce back today. Again, it's a minus 150, so you have to manage that. You know that I'm bearish on the Angels. I think at some point this thing is going to go south. They did a great job hanging around 500. A lot of those wins were against Miami. So in the end, I think the Angels may fall today against Tampa Bay. So I would lean toward the Rays.
Good stuff all the way around from Craig Mitch. By the way, yesterday we were action-packed in the afternoon with a dozen games starting before 4 o'clock. We only have 5 games today, but 3 of those games, as we talked about, lunchtime starts, 1:10, 1:10, and 1:35. 2 games coming up later tonight, 7:40 p.m. and 9:45. When information moving around Major League Baseball, Craig Mitch is our NBA insider. No, he's our MLB insider. He doesn't like the NBA playoffs. He loves the Major League Baseball playoffs, people.